Hello and welcome to Season 2, Race 14 of my F1 2021, my team career mode, and we are here in Singapore for the Singapore Grand Prix. And we just barely missed out on pole. Charles Leclerc has the pole again, just barely lost out in qualifying. And just barely beat out Carlos Sainz for second, preventing a Ferrari lockout at the front row. We had another weird instance like we had in Belgium where somebody retired from qualifying early. This time it was Daniel Ricciardo. So I'm guessing he must have had some sort of accident of some sort. Either way, he is starting in the back for the race. Yeah, the practice sessions really didn't go that well for me, as I was surprised at my pace in qualifying. Though the race will certainly present us with some unique challenges. Um, with it, which I will show off in a second.
All right, I think we can call that a successful qualifying. We should be in with a good chance in the race.
And you can see the weather. It's going to be raining for half the race, and then we'll be changing over to dry conditions for the finish. And not only that, but we have the news that Sebastian Vettel is retiring at the end of the season. So, an open seat will be available at Aston Martin come the start of Season 3. So, we'll see who fills that. R&D wise, we've actually, for the first time ever, we have jumped up to the best car on the grid, just ahead of Ferrari and McLaren. Red Bull's fallen off slightly. We do have one more chassis upgrade that's coming in. Again, as I mentioned in a previous race, we're at the point now where on some of these, I won't be able to upgrade anymore until I go to level 3 in the department. So, there's not much more for me to do on the engine, say for example, until my facility reaches Spec 3. So, the only thing we can really do is buy these open aero upgrades. Which actually we don't have the money to purchase right now, so we're kind of in a bit of a lull period in terms of getting upgrades to the car. So just leave that as is for now, and we will head straight to the race. Although I will also quickly check the standings. So I was trying to suss out when do I get to the point where I can lock up the championship. Right now, I think my lead is 125 points. Or 126. It's 152. 252 is 100. 72 would be 20. So 126 points. So I could potentially lock up the championship in at my home Grand Prix if my points lead over Leclerc is 125 or so points or more, I want to say. Though it's a little harder to figure out when you account for the fastest lap. But bottom line is we're closing in on that point. We're locking up the championship early as possible. So there you go. But we will go straight into the Singapore Grand Prix.
Against the spectacular backdrop of the Singapore skyline, Formula One returns once again to do battle in what tends to become something of an endurance race, with the notorious sauna-like temperatures in the cockpit making for an extremely physically challenging Grand Prix. We have a high risk of a safety car here today, as the abundance of tight corners mixed with these wet conditions could put a few cars off into the barriers. 23 turns then, 13 to the left and 10 to the right, make up the 3.1-mile lap of Marina Bay. Anthony Davidson also joins me in the commentary box today. Let's have a chat about McLaren. What do you make of their performance so far this season?
Well, the atmosphere within that team seems very positive at the moment. Everyone seems like they're in great spirits and having a lot of fun doing what they do, and that's definitely contributed to the performances we've seen.
It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. Charles Leclerc lines up on pole position and the owner driver alongside. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Sainz, Perez, Yuki Tsunoda, and Gasly, Bottas, Ocon, Stroll, and Nikita Mazepin. Norris, they'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. Vettel, George Russell, and Giovinazzi. Ireland, Fernando Alonso, they've taken a grid penalty. Max Verstappen and Nicholas Latifi. Joe, they'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. Ricciardo, Mick Schumacher, and Christian Lundgaard.
Alright, so we got some grid penalties. Shaking up the back half of the field. Or I guess the mid portion of the field. Of course, it says that he will be on intermediates for the whole race, so we obviously know that is not the case. And that will change to dries at some point in the middle.
Clutch bite is good, gearbox is responding normally. Make sure to warm up the tyres and brakes. Warm the tyres and brakes throughout the lap.
Now, I guess the one interesting thing to follow will be when, how long do these, does the field, I guess, run on this one set of intermediates, depending on how long the rain lasts. And for some reason, Leclerc is just like rocketing off into the distance on the formation lap. Why, I have no idea.
The drivers we're fighting here are Leclerc and Sainz. The rain is getting lighter now, but it's going to take a while for the track to dry out. Inters seem like the fastest tyre for now.
Got a bad feeling that Leclerc rocketing away on this formation lap is a sign of things to come in this race. So I hit the wall, taking the turn, incredibly too tight. Leclerc's gonna be waiting on the grid for a long ass time, that's for sure.
down the lights. The start sequence will begin as soon as the grid has formed. Be ready with the clutch.
Alright. Again, waiting for the grid to form up there in the back. We're getting ready for the Singapore Grand Prix at the Marina Bay Street Circuit. My teammate Christian Lundgaard starting in the back of the grid, while we are on the front row, P2. Lights out and away we go. Poor start as always. Well, that's not good. I don't want to make contact like that. Well, that one shot looked crazy. Yeah, look at that. And Perez is going to work his way up to second ahead of Carlos Sainz.
That was a heck of an impact.
That
Let me
was
know you're
not
okay.
a smart decision on the first lap of the race. Yeah, or a lot of the practice sessions were in wet conditions or partially wet conditions, you know.
There's been an incident on track resulting in loose debris. Fortunately, the marshals have managed to clear it up in time, and there are no plans for a safety car right now.
And by that I mean, you know, I guess a mixed session, you know, part of it in the wet, part of it in the dry. There was a lot of that in the practice sessions. And it didn't really have strong pace in the wet. Maybe that was just a practice thing. Again, I didn't expect to contend for pole, for example. Yet here I am, where I nearly won the pole. Started P2. So, who knows, maybe I actually do have pretty good pace in the wet, and it's just going to take a couple laps to come in. Leclerc leads the Singapore Grand Prix with Perez in second, Sainz third, ourselves, or I guess myself, in fourth, and Yuki Tsunoda in fifth. We aren't keeping up with Sainz, so we're not doing terrible. If anything, we actually kind of closed the gap on Sainz a little bit, at least in the slower sector 2. Oh, we're right on his gearbox. Ooh. Check my front wing there. See, I think the first sector is where I'm really the strongest in terms of potentially overtaking people. A little bit of contact. A little bit of damage to the front wing. I don't think doesn't look significant. I'll take that again. We could be setting up an overtake on Sainz, but pulls away. Let's see if we do anything into this turn right here. Dive bomb, brake. Got it. Up to P3.
Brilliant. Nice move.
A little bit on the curbs, but we made it work. This is what I was talking about. Our pace in the wet in practice didn't look entirely promising, but in the race, I mean, we're not doing too bad. Now we got Sergio Perez in front of us.
Keep it up. We're looking at about 10 more minutes of rain. 10 minutes.
Do a mid-session save. And like I was saying, depending on how long this rain goes could dictate the strategy. If it goes long enough, people might come in and change to another set of intermediate tires. But if it's possible to stretch it out to the dry stint, that would obviously be more preferable.
Good job. That was the fastest lap of the race so far.
Just set the fastest lap of the Grand Prix as we close in once again on Sergio Perez, and then I make contact with his rear tire. Trying to make a move on Checo. Ooh, bravery! Wow! I did not expect that to work at all, but we made it work somehow. I thought, I'm gonna have to wait another lap, take this move, but no, it worked. Inside on the brakes hard. Actually, a much better pass on Perez than on Sainz. And we're up into P2. Now Leclerc, he might be he might be a little harder to potentially overtake, I think. We'll track our progress to Leclerc here after this next lap starts. Basically, we'll just take a look at where we are at the start-finish line, and then see where we are a lap later in terms of how close or how far behind we are.
Okay, the weather's certainly eased off for the time being, but we've still got a lot of standing water out there. We're happy for you to stay out on the inters for now.
Alright, so about 2.4 seconds at the line.
We're increasing our gap on the car behind by around a second a lap.
We are starting to pull away a little bit from Perez. A little wide. It's okay. Do a quick rewind. Scrape the wall a tiny bit, very, very tiny bit. That's how we hit the wall even harder. Alright, so we're about 1.9 at the line.
Of the race. Keep this up.
So we gained about a little over a half a second on Leclerc that lap. And really, I honestly think it really comes down to this first sector. That's where we're really gaining the time. On the Ferrari. Basically, right up to here, that's where we're really gaining the time. Then, starting from this point is where Leclerc sort of starts to stabilize, claw back some of that gap to sectors 2 and 3. Well, Lance Stroll's out of the race. Let's see what happened to him. Oh, it's an engine failure for the Aston Martin. So we pull it off right over there, and he is done for the night. No points for Lance Stroll.
Great work. That's a new fastest lap of the race.
1.3 behind Leclerc now. Now we're right on Leclerc's gearbox.
You're sat in P2. Leclerc ahead. Less than a second separate you. They're on old inters. Perez behind. The gap behind us is 4.1 seconds. They're on old inters. Your pit window opens in 8 laps time. You have 25 laps to go. We're leading our teammate by 33.8 seconds.
And move on. I was gonna try the same move that I pulled on Perez on Leclerc, but it didn't work out quite as well. Leclerc was a little too far ahead. And second try. Still not close enough, really. Only I was like a little closer, I could make the move. It's just not close enough. I'm gonna have to be on the brakes really early just to make sure you don't run into the back of them. Maybe make an overtake here. No, that wasn't gonna work. Sometimes that one works. That time it did not. Check the front wing. Did a little beating and banging NASCAR style going into the start of the third sector. Check to make sure it got no damage to the front wing. Looks like we got away unscathed. So yeah, we'll keep going from there. Got the line on him now, and we're into the lead of the Singapore Grand Prix.
That brings you up a place.
Started second, fall all the way down to fourth. And by lap 8, going into lap 9, we are in the lead. Do a quick mid-session save. And just to give a quick recap of where the field is now, so me and Leclerc are 1 and 2. Then you've got sort of a three-way battle for third here with Perez, Sainz, and Tsunoda. Then you gotta go all the way back to the two AlphaTauri cars of Gasly and Bottas, who are about a couple seconds behind Tsunoda, but you can see them, they're not that far back. And then it's actually a pretty decent distance all the way back to, I guess this would be the AlphaTauri would be 6th and 7th. Would be 8th place Esteban Ocon, 9th place Nikita Mazepin, yes, Mazepin in the points, and 10th Lando Norris. So 8th place Ocon is about the full length of the front straightaway behind Valtteri Bottas. And then Alonso, with Vettel, and Russell, Giovinazzi, Callum Ilott, Mick Schumacher, Verstappen, Guan Yu Zhou, Nicholas Latifi, Ricardo, my teammate. So my teammate and basically all the people, unfortunately, who started in the back of the pack have really not made any progress since the start of the race, which is unfortunate, but it's kind of one of the drawbacks of a street circuit in wet conditions. Kind of hard to make your way up through the field.
Our best lap so far is a 1:56.6. Gap to teammate behind is 37.5 seconds. They're on old inters. They're in 21st. The time last lap was a 2:0.1.
And a little contact with the wall.
This rain should be ending shortly. The dry line will come in quickly, so don't waste any time getting back up to speed. Inters look like the best tyre for now.
So the rain should be ending fairly shortly. It's not over yet, obviously. And of course, the rain coming into an end does bring up the natural question of what tire would I decide to go on, and it's kind of an interesting choice, because with me, it always depends on how many laps are left in the race. And if the rain continues to persist for another, 5 or 6 laps, I think it's a fairly easy choice.
We'll be running on a dry track soon. Back to dry shortly.
I think once it is that time, I think it's, and especially if it's in a couple laps, I think the easy decision is to go with medium tires. We'll have to see how much longer this rain lasts. Or I can just do double softs and try a 2-stop on soft tires, which is a bold strategy, especially if the AI goes for mediums, or especially if the AI goes for hards. It's just basically hitting the wall in that corner. Need to do a better job braking. There we go. I think the win at this point is going to come down to the pit strategy coming up in the next couple laps. In terms of who goes with what tire. Because normally this would be around the time where I would try that one-stop strategy where I go from soft to hard. And part of the problem too is that, you know, I'm in the lead.
You're increasing the gap on the car behind by 0.5 per lap.
And I can't really, you know... It's gonna be hard to tell because I'm in the lead, so I won't be able to gauge whatever people are going with until after I've passed the pit lane entrance. Unless, you know, the field is so spread out at this point. You know, I guess the only saving grace would be if people back the pack end up pitting first.
It's not a perfect situation, but I don't think there's cause to move on to a different tyre yet.
If the people in the back pit first, then that would be a good tell for me as to what people are going for tire-wise. I think that, yeah, at this point, I think the rain is clearly either, like, just barely drizzling or it's stopped completely. The portions of the track are still very wet. So I don't think it's quite time for dries. And of course, you know, for me, the telltale sign of when it's time for dries is when the DRS becomes active, or activated. That's usually the universal sign that yes, it is time for dry tires. We're starting to see a bit of a dry line form in some places on the circuit.
I don't think the line is really dry enough yet to start thinking about slicks. Let's hold on to the inters for a while longer. No issues with tyre wear for now. Keep taking care of them.
Saying purple sectors is all over the place right now. That's also a sign that the track is beginning to dry out. That's when the lap times start to fall. When I just barely clipped the wall.
Drying, the track is drying. Let us know when it's time for slicks.
Oh, we got people pitting now. There's the signal. It's Perez, Sainz, Sonoda. They're all pitting now. So that means it's time to pit. So let's see what these teams go for here. Okay, so we got a mix here initially. Sergio Perez going for the hard tire, so he's going all the way to the end for sure. Carlos Sainz is going for a set of medium tires, as is one of the AlphaTauris. Yuki Tsunoda also going for medium tires. Now pretty much everyone diving into the pits at this point, and it's going to be very interesting because, you know, obviously Sainz, who's actually going to lose out here to Sergio Perez by the looks of it. So they're going to be gaining on us pretty quickly, since we are still on the wet weather tire.
A new strategy is available on the MFD.
And there it is. DRS has been enabled. And let's take a look at the pit road situation currently. So there's Perez ahead of Sainz, ahead of Sonoda. You have a double stack situation. Bottas going to lose out on that one in the AlphaTauri garage. But you will get out ahead of Esteban Ocon and Nikita Mazepin, and this is Lando Norris. And you got George Russell coming in. Everyone's coming in, so we got more tires to look at. So hard tires for Vettel, medium tires for Gasly, medium for Bottas, hard for Ocon, hard for Vettel, medium on Mazepin, medium on Norris. So a lot of different strategies up and down the grid, as you can see.
Confirmed. Christian is in the pits. Christian in the pits.
Yeah, still think it's very wet in certain spots, but if it says, you know, DRS, then that's the sign. It's time to come in. And like I said, there's a chance we're going to be in trouble here because we would have had an extra lap being out on track on the inters while others would be on dries.
Pitting this lap then. Come into the pits at the end of this lap. Affirmative. Medium tyres at the next stop.
Alright. Here we go, the money stop. Coming up right here.
Looks like it's probably about time we change tyres. It's a bit of a crossover period for sure, but the longer we stay out, the worse it's going to get.
Yep, me and Leclerc in the pits now. Leclerc is going for the medium tires, as are we. Alonso stayed out for an extra lap. He's probably going to lose a ton of spots.
Go now.
A slower stop by my team.
Up to speed now. Let's get some heat into those tyres.
And we are going to emerge with the lead. With Sainz, Perez, and Tsunoda in hot pursuit of both myself and Leclerc. Alright, so now we are in dry conditions, so the strategies have now changed, given that we are now on a dry surface, which actually it dried out pretty quickly compared to when we were last on track, before we came down pit road. Tire-wise, let's look at the race director. So the cars to watch that are definitely for sure going to the end of the race are Sergio Perez, Esteban Ocon, Sebastian Vettel, Callum Ilott, Guan Yu Zhou, Daniel Ricciardo. Those are the cars that are going to the end of the race on their tire. They're on hard tires. There's no real reason for them to pit again. Of course, if the race starts in the wet or goes too wet, then the tire requirements for the running two different compounds go out the window. They are not necessary. So now I guess the question is going to be, can these medium tires run to the end, or will we need to pit one more time? And the way I see it, if we do end up having to pit one more time, I think it's a very easy decision to go onto soft tires. I don't think that's a point of debate whatsoever. If we pit again, that's what we're going to go with. And again, it's really going to depend on what everyone else does. We're going to have to pay attention to what Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc do with Ferrari, what Tsunoda does with Mercedes. That's going to be really the key to everything. Quick mid-session save. Meanwhile, I'm going to check my own stuff here. Let me see. I'll just set something up real quick. Bear with me. Alright, let's go. Mick Schumacher setting the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. Check one more thing out here real quick.
We're leading our teammate by
fastest lap.
52.3 seconds.
So, a little wide. That's okay, we're good. Gun it. Still cannot believe that Nikita Mazepin is a Mercedes driver right now, and Max Verstappen is a Haas driver right now. It's still sort of... I don't know how the game... maybe it was just because I had the one setting with the money set differently. But yeah, I don't know why you go from Jack Aiken to Nikita Mazepin. That seems like honestly like a downgrade. Hopefully, Mazepin will have poor enough performances that Mercedes will not keep him going into Season 3. Just a strange choice to swap out with Aiken halfway through the season. Maybe that Mazepin money is just too much to turn down. I don't know why. I don't know why Mercedes would necessarily need that money. It's not like not like they're strapped for cash in real life, though. I guess with the way I had things set in the game, maybe they were a little cash strapped. The wall a little bit. Yeah, Perez is falling back to just already 16 seconds behind me. And he's the one I really want to watch out for in terms of how far ahead of him we are.
A new strategy is available on the MS.
Let's see what this new strategy is. 23 tire change. The tire wear isn't that bad. And my hope would be we can go to the end of the race on this, but if If we can't, then my guess would have been to, or my guess would be to go on soft tires and go to the end of the race on those. Also, I believe this would be my 10th win of the season, I want to say. If I can pull this off. Win number 10. And unfortunately, you know, unless something happens with one of the Ferraris, it's going to be a disappointing day in the Constructors' Championship standings because, you know, with Lungard taking his grip penalty and still being stuck in the back, I'm pretty sure. He's down in 17th place. So not a ton of progress, really. I'm going to be the only one scoring points, and you have the Ferraris of Leclerc and Sainz running second and third. And so if I maintain the fastest lap, you know, that's 26 points. They're going to score 15, or 18 and 15, which totals up to 33, if my math is correct. So we will be losing about, what is that, 33, 26, 7 points to Ferrari, which, you know, I think we had a 20 or 30 something point lead on Ferrari coming into this race. So it's not a terrible loss of points, but still a little too close for comfort.
Gap to teammate behind is 58.7 seconds.
And I am nearly a minute ahead of my teammate, 17th.
We're approaching the pit window. You'll be on the mediums.
Time will tell if anyone behind me. So basically, if anyone behind me pits, that'll sort of be the tip-off of what we're gonna do here at the end of this race. Well, I set that corner complex entirely wrong. Yeah, that's better. Yeah, so the next couple laps here are going to be crucial in deciding what happens with the pit stops potentially. Leclerc, pretty sure he stayed out. Sainz pitted. Sainz is in the pits. Carlos Sainz in the pits. Is he the only one, or do others follow? Now my interest has peaked. Or my interest has been peaked. So what will Ferrari decide? They're going another set of mediums, so they are doing the medium strategy. And we got more coming in. We got Yuki Tsunoda coming in. So it looks like that people are indeed doing another dry tire stop. Which is quite intriguing. Guess we'll have to wait and find out now if Charles Leclerc decides to do the same thing or if he continues onward.
Some information on Gasly.
Uh-oh.
They're retiring from the race.
Gasly out of the race.
Christian is coming in for his stop.
Looks like an engine failure on his car, based on where he's parked up. No safety car. Alright, does Leclerc come in this time?
Pit window open. Let's box this lap.
Leclerc does not come in. So Leclerc stays on track with me. So... So are they just on different strategies? Perhaps? That one's a bit of a head scratcher. I don't know why you would pit there if you're Carlos Sainz. It seems like you were in a pretty good spot. Fifth place, Nikita Mazepin dives into the pits. Tsunoda, who already pitted, will move back up into that spot. Now I'm really starting to wonder if me and Leclerc are just going to stick it out on these tires. I mean, I think we're pretty okay to go to the end. I don't see any reason to make a stop. Though if Leclerc does pit, I would certainly counter with a pit stop of my own, more than likely. I mean, I don't think he would have enough laps to catch me, but that fastest lap point could be in play. Leclerc stays out again, so I think, I believe we are going to stick it out as we now approach, still can't believe I'm saying this, the Haas of Max Verstappen. to put him a lap down. And as of this point, he would be the only car a lap down. With Stroll and Gasly both being out of the Grand Prix. So current rating order, myself first, and Leclerc, Perez, Sainz, Tsunoda the top 5, followed by Esteban Ocon, Sebastian Vettel, Valtteri Bottas, Daniel Ricciardo, and Lando Norris, and then Nikita Mazepin, George Russell, P12, good for him. My teammate, 18th place, so he's a ways back. So what I predicted would happen is the hard tire runners are sticking it out. And it could be beneficial to some of them, like, you know, Sergio Perez getting onto the podium and Sebastian Vettel scoring his first points in a while. He can hold station.
The car behind is dropping back by about 0.3 a lap.
And we were on the verge of lapping Verstappen, but Verstappen does have fresher tires. So I guess, not too surprisingly, he is pulling away. I wonder if we'll get close enough where blue flags will become a factor once again. So I think if you get enough blue flags, then you have to sort of pull over and let the leader pass. Let's go check something here real quick. Okay. Alright, we keep going. Verstappen's still ahead of me, and there's actually a fair amount of lap cars ahead of... well, not lap cars, but back marker cars ahead of him. So I wonder if we'll be able to lap any of these people before the end of the race. I guess we'll find out soon enough. So it looks like there is
There's 5 laps of fuel remaining.
So you got the Haas and Verstappen ahead of me, and then you have who I believe is Latifi ahead of Verstappen, and then ahead of Latifi, I believe, is Guan Yu Zhou, and then for sure Callum Ilott, because there's only 2 white dots and Verstappen is one of them, so it's got to be the other Haas car. Verstappen trying to keep from going a lap down here. but Latifi might be holding him up. Ooh, Latifi nearly lost it. Then they finally both let me by. And I lapped them both. Get a little bit of DRS assistance, thank you very much. It was a very bad turn. We make it through. I think Verstappen's just going to try and follow me along here.
Be careful, we think you're going to start losing some tyre grip around now.
Guan Yu Zhou and Callum Ilott right in front of me. So my earlier hypothesis that we can go to the end on medium is based on when we pitted was clearly proven to be correct, at least when the rains came, or when the rains stopped, I should say. I think that's the last lapper that we're going to see in this race. I think next up would be my teammate, but I think he's too far ahead of me for me to catch him. So we'll just carry on and complete the final 4 laps of this Grand Prix.
There's 3 laps of fuel remaining.
Oh, my goodness, I just realized that we are very low on fuel. I did not even notice that until just now. Well, that means that we have to save. Which I'm pretty good at saving fuel. So that shouldn't be much of an issue. Glad I just noticed it then, otherwise I'd be in big trouble. Running out on the last lap, losing the race after dominating the second half. The hard part of it is, I guess, is that there aren't a ton of long straightaways where saving fuel is possible. So it's going to be a challenge just trying to find spots to save fuel while I've got Leclerc breathing down my neck once he gets by the lappers, and I actually think he's already gotten by the lappers. And he's close to within 2 seconds. So, Houston, we might have a problem. Let's try to hold on and save the fuel here in Singapore. Three laps to go. Yeah, I don't care about tires. I care about fuel right now. The thing is, I think Sector 3, it's not that hard to hold somebody off. So I don't think I would have any problems holding off Leclerc in this part of the track. It's mainly the front stretch.
We have 2 laps of fuel remaining.
The one straightaway at the end of the first sector, and then the long straightaway at the end of the second sector. Those are the main overtaking opportunities where I would need to be worried about Leclerc potentially getting me for the lead. Like right here, Leclerc's right on my tail. It's going to be hard to save fuel with him right behind me. Hit the wall a little bit. Oh, Leclerc is alongside. Damage my front wing a little bit. I think they're against the wall. Try to make that turn in. Ooh, Leclerc had a moment there. Gives you a little bit of breathing room. Save a little bit more fuel. So I just barely scraped the wall once again. All right.
This is your final lap of the race.
Here we are, last lap, trying to save every ounce of fuel we can to ensure that we can make it to the finish. See, real touch and go here, especially with Leclerc breathing down my neck. Here he comes, DRS. Whoa. Just somehow keep him behind us. Oh, Leclerc gets a little squirrely again.
Less than a lap of fuel now. The tank is empty.
You're telling me. Alright. This is the last real overtaking opportunity for Leclerc. So he can't get it done here. I think I can really just coast back to the finish. Oh, he's making a move! A little bit of contact. Backing up the pack a little bit behind me, saving some fuel. Should be good to make it back to the finish line from here. A little bit of damage to the front wing. Doesn't matter. Come across the line and win the Singapore Grand Prix.
Absolutely awesome. Just amazing. Well done.
Got a little hairy at the very end. So we made it through.
What a great race it's been then. Another classic Singapore Grand Prix, and they've held on to take the checkered flag here today. Anthony Davidson, how do you think they were able to set themselves apart today?
I'd say it was down once again to good, consistent driving, nailing the corners, working to the track conditions and perfecting the team's strategies. They got all of these things right today, and the results speak for themselves.
The faces on our top three look so incredibly happy as they make their way up to the podium. A much-deserved victory and a brilliant performance from them all.
So it is a double Ferrari podium once again.
So then, it's time to see how this result affects the Drivers' Championship. Another solid result for our championship leader today, allowing them to extend the gap between themselves and the rest of the standings. So, Anthony Davidson, who would you rank as your driver of the day?
Well, Crofty, Daniel Ricciardo would have to be my driver of the day. It's less about what he did right, but how little he did wrong. Perfect driving.
It's time to check out the constructors' standings. The lead at the top comes down after a strong weekend from the challenging pack. Meanwhile, good work from Aston Martin this weekend, who pushed themselves further up the order. I'm equal parts exhausted and elated with this weekend of Formula One. Be sure to join us for the next one.
And there you go, that was the Singapore Grand Prix. Wasn't expecting a win, was not expecting a win, but we ended up getting a win, which is pretty good, if I have to say so for myself. Everything just sort of came through and worked. Our deficit or lead to Ferrari has been reduced to only 24 points ahead. Driver standings wise, we're now 134 ahead of second place Charles Leclerc. And poor Nikita Mazepin still has not scored any points whatsoever in the Mercedes. You'll love to see it. Finishing position wise, good on Sebastian Vettel, getting points for Aston Martin. That was a good result for him. Have to give props to Daniel Ricciardo, coming from P20 to P8. Just an incredible effort from him to get points. Yeah, not much else really to add. My teammate did come out to finish P13 from P22, last on the grid, so no points, but still pretty good. Same for Mick Schumacher, going from 21st to 12th. There you go. That was the Singapore Grand Prix.
The fans really seem to enjoy that. You made it look easy. Are you happy with your performance today? The weather was miserable today, but do you feel this was an advantage for you? Is there anything that you think gave you the edge over your rivals? You left a lot of paint on the walls today. Were you struggling for grip, or did you just misjudge some corners? Great. Well, that's everything.
Alright, there you go. We'll take care of some things here. Before we move forward. We got a durability event.
How do you want us to deal with this one?
Alright. The durability department are requesting a more simulator time to let them test out a new setup. If they get it, it might provide them with the data they need to push forward with development of a component they're working on, but it means less simulator time for the driver development. I think our gearbox reliability is pretty good, so we'll go with focusing on the driver development and getting 7 on the racecraft.
Thanks. I know these kinds of decisions can be challenging, but I think you made the right call.
Alright, activities. We'll do some weight training for Christian Lungard. Do we have enough R&D to purchase an aerodynamic upgrade on the car? Just barely. So we can get at least one more upgrade in. We have exactly 7 resource points. So there you go there. And, yeah, that's pretty much everything. So thank you for watching the Singapore Grand Prix. I'll see you next time for the Japanese Grand Prix.